Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode. Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud. Welcome back, Press Starters. Thanks for being with me today and always being awesome. This week, we are discussing consistency in cows. First up is consistency is king. Why what you do defines who you are. If you want to be taken seriously, be consistent. Source unknown. Consistency builds trust over time. It also builds your reputation. So, to build a good reputation, you have to choose repeated positive action again and again. Think about it. If you consistently show up on time, you build a good reputation. If you consistently show up late, you'll build a bad reputation. What you do consistently is how you're perceived. At their core, the habits we build are all about consistency. Take exercising or eating healthily, for example. If you aren't totally committed, what happens? You end up binge watching The Mandalorian while eating a plate of ho-hos instead of doing squats and crunching on carrots. I'm not saying either is bad. What you commit yourself to is what you do consistently. So choose what you want to commit to and deliver. When I evaluate employees, I do it on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. 3 stars is average, and the people that get 4 or 5 stars receive them because they consistently perform above average. Not once, not twice, but enough for me to notice their performance was a pattern and not a fluke. When you deliver consistently, it's hard to question commitment and passion. What if you want to be consistently doing something else? A lot of people say to dress for the job you want, but I say perform the role you want. If you want to be healthier, it doesn't matter how many track shoots you wear, but it does matter if you do the damn squats. The same is true for your job. To be considered for a different role, you have to consistently display that you're qualified for it. Now, I'm not saying you should let your current job fall by the wayside. Quite the opposite. You can't just show up in a suit and expect to be promoted to a management position. You have to do your current job at 100% and show the leadership qualities a manager is expected to have. Are you on time every day? Do you always complete your projects when you say you will? Do you always act with integrity? Do you communicate clearly in every meeting? Notice that all those sentences contain the word always or every. That's because consistency is key. It bears repeating. What you do consistently is how you're perceived. So commit and deliver. To learn more about how you're perceived and what to do about it, check out my podcast, number 7, where I discuss real talk. Sometimes the problem is you. What are your thoughts on consistency? Do you agree that consistency is king? Let me know in the comments. Alright, next up is a lesson from my childhood. Cows versus kangaroos, learning to be cautious of the narrative. When I was a kid, my father taught me one of the best lessons of my life. It was about cows. I lived in New Jersey as a child, and if you ever drove any distance through Jersey, you couldn't do it without passing several cow farms. Every time we passed these farms, my father would point out the window excitedly saying, "Look, Chris, cows." I would get excited too, pointing at the black and white creatures, calling them by name. My mother joined in the narrative too, the whole family pointing and exclaiming every time we drove by a farm. This was all well and good until I got to school and my teacher presented me with the image of a cow, asking, "What's this?" In my fullest sense of knowing, I proudly stated, a kangaroo, expecting to be rewarded with praise. Instead, all the kids laughed and the teacher reprimanded me for joking around. I was crushed. You see, on those long family drives past the farms, my parents hadn't actually said, "Look, Chris, cows." They said, "Look, Chris, kangaroos." And I believed the narrative without ever questioning it. Over the years, we came to laugh about this experience as a family, but in the moment, the lesson learned was clear. Don't simply believe what you're told, even by someone you trust. Take the time to find your own truth and be cautious of the narrative. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't trust people. You should. Relationships are built on trust. What I am saying is that you should trust, but verify. Why is it important to verify? The narrative often comes from people in power, which means it can be controlled. Sometimes, people speak with authority, but know nothing. Most people won't question a story, but it's important to do spot checks so you know the truth. While I believe most people do their best to be truthful, most of the time, the only person you should ever trust 100% is you. This is why you should always dissect the narrative. How, you ask? By being open to everything and attached to nothing. Not only does this practice help you find the truth, it also helps you find your true self. I like to dissect the narrative when it comes to big projects and ideas as well. In fact, when it comes to new concepts, features, and business models, I like to use red teaming, a practice where a team plays devil's advocate and attempts to poke holes in the truth of an idea. It works especially well for games as a service. Cycles can be fast, so this approach helps everybody think things through. While I suggest using red teaming sparingly, as using it too often can create an unhealthy environment, it's great for major projects. And remember, it's generally not a good idea to trust one person's truth when something large is at stake. You could end up with a cow when you thought you were getting a kangaroo. I hope my experience with cows and kangaroos was helpful to you. Let me know if you have your own experience with cows and kangaroos and questioning the narrative you have been presented. All right, that's this week's episode of Press Start Leadership Podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, thanks for being awesome. Till next time, Press Starters. Thank you for pressing start. If you haven't downloaded my free ebook, 5 Heroic Leadership Skills, click on the link in the description. Tune in next week for your next episode of Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thank you. Oh, hi. Man, the episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. Be sure to check out more episodes in the playlist and new episodes every week on Monday. Follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave a review. Thanks again for being awesome.